Welcome back to Falkert Figures, where today I'm going to be unboxing some WWE Mattel retro figures thanks to the madness that has just unfolded in the entertainer toy shops.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
So to fill everyone in on what's just happened recently, I'm sure anybody watching this video will probably be aware of this, but just in case, just to let you know what's happened, these guys on the table here, these are the WWE Mattel retro figures. So these are Mattel released throwback figures, if you like, to the Hasbro era of WWF wrestling figures. These are guys, the guys on the table I've got just now, these belong to my son. These belong to my 1-year-old. As you can maybe tell from AJ's elbow pads, he's been scuffed a bit as he's been banged around the toy room, the playroom. But yeah, these are figures that they were kind of aimed at the adult collector, I suppose. The collector that has a bit of nostalgia for the Hasbro era. But whilst I am one of those collectors, whilst I'm one of those guys that reflects fondly on the Hasbro era and collects Hasbro figures, I never really bought into these guys. I thought they were cool, I thought it was nice, I thought it was a novelty. But yeah, I just couldn't really get on board. The reason I have these guys, the reason my son has these guys, this is Series 3. Goldberg, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. These were some serious peg warmers. I mean, they could not move these guys. And I bought them when they were discounted 2 or 3 times. I think it was like £1 or maybe £2 each I paid for these guys. Because they could not shift this series. When they were at retail, they couldn't shift this series, and that's the only reason I picked them up. I didn't really have much interest in the rest of them. There was 1 or 2 that I would have liked to have got. For me, there's 3 reasons why you'd want a retro. One is that it's a cool figure, or it's like one of your favourite wrestlers, and it looks like a cool figure, a decent figure to have on display. That's the first reason. And I wanted Brock Lesnar for that reason. I would have bought Brock Lesnar's retro because I thought he looked awesome. I thought it was the way that his tattoos looked, the way that he had the kind of power slam move, which I thought fits his character. I thought it was a cool Brock Lesnar figure. So I would have wanted that, but couldn't find it. It was one of the early series. I think it was Series 1 or Series 2 Brock was in. Couldn't find it in the stores, and the online price was just crazy. It was immediately like going for like £40-50, and I thought, I'm not paying that for something that costs £5, £6 in the shops. So never got a Brock. The other reason that I think there is to want a retro is that the retro figure is an upgrade or an improvement on the Hasbro figure. And there's one guy that falls into that category, and I would have wanted Ric Flair. I would have wanted Ric Flair's retro. His Hasbro figure is a controversial one because it doesn't look much like him. The action move is a rubbish one. It's not a very good Ric Flair figure from the Hasbro line. And considering who Ric Flair is and the importance he has to that sort of era of wrestling, not just WWF, but wrestling, he deserved a better figure. And his retro upgrade, his Mattel retro upgrade, was definitely an improvement. It was a vast improvement. And I would have wanted a Ric Flair, but again, hard to get in stores, almost impossible to get in stores. And really, I mean, the secondary market, it's just crazy for the Ric Flair retro. I've seen him go for over £100, which for something that came out a year or 2 ago, is bonkers, I think. So I'm not getting a Ric Flair. But the other reason the third reason that you might want to pick up a retro may just have been addressed by this bag at the back here. The third reason for wanting a retro is if they should have had a Hasbro, but they didn't. There's some guys from the time of the Hasbro era that I feel you had to have in your fig fed. You deserved to have one, you wanted to have one, but they weren't in the line. And there's a couple of guys in here that address that, and for that reason, those are retros that I would be keen to pick up. I would be happy to have, and they were in the Entertainer. So to explain what happened with the Entertainer, these figures were discontinued, I think 2 years ago now, 2018 maybe. They were discontinued. They were replaced by the WWE, the Masters of the WWE Universe figures. That was the He-Man and WWE mashup figures that came out recently. They were sort of replaced the retros on Mattel's, I suppose, their their itinerary, their catalogue, if you like, what they produce. They stopped making the retros and started making the Masters of the WWE Universe, and those figures are horrendous. So don't even look for them; they're terrible. So these figures have been discontinued. They don't make them anymore. They don't sell them anymore. So there is a bit of a secondary market. Certain figures, like the couple that I mentioned, Brock, Ric Flair, one or two others, Macho Man. Some of them, well, actually, some of them go for good money. Roman Reigns is an expensive one, as is Kevin Owens in the earlier series. I think there's, again, Series 1 or Series 2. But I think that's a distribution issue rather than them being popular figures. I believe Roman Reigns was switched out in one of the series or something there, like the second wave, something like that. I think there's a story similar to the Dusty Rhodes Hasbro story where Roman Reigns was included in the first wave and then he wasn't included in the second release of that series or something like that, which is why he's a valuable figure, a rare one to get. But yeah, other than the handful of them, there's not really a huge amount that they go for. But Entertainer, out of nowhere, just started selling them again. They were nowhere to be seen. You could not get them in any shop, and then all of a sudden, Entertainer, they're on the shelves, they're on the website. You can pick them up, which created an absolute hysteria amongst the online WWF Hasbro collector community. So I was kind of late to the party with this. I noticed them being listed on eBay, and immediately I thought, wait a minute, this looks like a scam, because it was the same figures that were listed by multiple sellers. And I kind of thought, well, is this the same guy that's got lots of different accounts and he's trying to like sell the same item multiple times? So I was a bit weary of it. And I thought, this is a scam, that there's something going on here. And then I found out later that day, or maybe the next day, on Facebook, in some Facebook groups, people were talking about it. People were saying, has anyone been to the Entertainer? If anyone goes to the Entertainer, can you get some figures for me? And then I clicked. So I was probably a day or 2 days late to the party with this whole thing. But as soon as I found out, I thought I need to get out there, because I obviously went to the Entertainer website straight away. No, they were mostly sold out at that point. There wasn't many left. So I thought, I'm going to have to get out to some stores. And I did. And I got a moderate amount of success from that. So the series that were re-released in the Entertainer, or that were for sale in the Entertainer, I'm assuming they were just in a warehouse somewhere, were Series 9 and Series 10. So not the whole wave, not from Series 1 all the way through, Series 9, Series 10. So, you know, not like the absolute best of the retro wave, but some good ones nonetheless. So I went out to see what I could get, and this bag here, this is the result. So let's have a look. First figure I've got is not a guy I was particularly looking for, but I saw him when the first Entertainer I went into, and I thought, I'll take him and leave him. Take him or leave him even. But then as I kind of started going around the other Entertainer stores, I was seeing less and less of them. And then when I got to the third or fourth Entertainer and he was there again, I thought, I better just buy him. I better just get him, because I probably won't see him again. And that's this lad here. This is Samoa Joe. So Samoa Joe, I mean, he's a decent fig. He's not so cool. He's not like in the Brock Lesnar category that he's so good that I would have to have him, because he's not from the Hasbro era. He's not someone that you can kind of connect to your Hasbro figures. He's not one of my favourite wrestlers, but it looks, to me, he looks like a decent enough figure that I thought, yeah, I'll pick him up. I'll buy him. So Samoa Joe, I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know if he's going to, how I'm going to display him, like who's going to stand next on the shelf. But I thought it'd probably be the last chance I get to have him. So yeah, I'll pick him up anyway. And here he is. Here is Joe. So Joe, oh wait a minute, he's a little bit, right, hold on. Right, I misread Joe there. I thought his arms were going to be the action move, but no, they're not. His arms just move, it's his waist. Right, so he's got the kind of Andre the Giant headbutt move, I think. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is pretty decent, actually. I like that. So his waist is spring-loaded to bounce forward. These Hasbro figures, sorry, Hasbro figures, these retro figures, there's a bit more sort of give to them, if you like, than the Hasbros. The Hasbros felt a lot harder. These guys feel, I mean, they're not soft and you can't bend their limbs, but it just feels like it's a different material, and it's not, it's not quite as rigid a material as the Hasbros were made of. So Samoa Joe, I mean, he's an okay guy. I mean, if you're a fan of WWE, he's more of a sort of a commentator now, a pundit now. But this is his image. This is when he was a wrestler, when he was active. This is how he looked. Came out with the sort of split colour shorts like that, and he's always been a kind of bigger made guy, and he's got. I mean, just comparing him to like AJ or Seth, he is just a little bit bulkier, which I think I quite like. I quite like that he's in a t-shirt as well, because let's be honest, he's one of the guys that doesn't have the best physique, and I don't really like that in the Hasbro figures when you get like Coco Beware's got like this muffin top and stuff. I'd rather he just had a top on. So Samoa Joe's wearing his t-shirt, and that makes him look pretty decent. I think that makes him look a bit more mean. So yeah, happy with Samoa Joe. But like I say, it was a take it or leave it kind of thing. I could easily have walked away and left him on the shelf, but because I was seeing less and less of him as I went around the entertainer stores, I thought I better just pick this guy up. So yeah, got him. The other guy that I was seeing in multiple stores was Randy Orton, but I mean, I just don't like Randy Orton. I mean, everything I hear about Randy Orton as a person I don't like, and I don't really like him as a wrestler either. So I was happy to leave him. I didn't really think anything about leaving him on the shelf. There were more Randy Ortons than anyone else anyway, but yeah, so I was happy to leave him. But the other guys that were in this entertainer event, don't feel like that about. I was desperate to see, and I'm glad I did. So, as I said, one of the reasons you'd want a retro figure, a WWE Mattel retro figure, is because you wanted this guy for your Hasbro Fig Fed, but he didn't have a figure. So the next guys come into that category. So if you look, but looking back now, I feel strongly that this guy should have a Hasbro. I can't understand why he is a Hasbro. And that's this lad right here, Goldust. Sorry, why he doesn't have a Hasbro. So this is Goldust. Goldust was in the WWF Federation at the time that most of the Hasbro characters were. So if you think about the feuds that Goldust had when he was in WWF, it was like Razor Ramon, Bam Bam Bigelow, Marty Jannetty. So these are guys that have all got Hasbro figures. So you think, well, where's Goldust Hasbro? Why is Goldust not got a Hasbro figure? Well, when you actually look into it and look into the dates that he was in the WWF, he's just missed out on the kind of cut-off, if you like. So he was in the WWF in 1991 and 1992, but he wasn't Goldust. He was Dustin Reynolds or Dustin Rhodes, I forget what his name was, but he was there as himself, the natural, as he was in WCW for a while. And he was there with his dad, with Dusty Rhodes, and they were kind of like it's a similar thing to what's going on just now with Rey Mysterio and Dominic, when you look back to Dustin and Dusty being in WWF together. They sort of teamed together, supported each other and stuff. But he wasn't Goldust, he was Dustin. And so that was 91, 92. So that's bang smack in the middle of the Hasbro era. But he didn't get he wasn't a big enough deal to get a Hasbro figure. And then when he came back into the WWF as Goldust, which was a year or two later, maybe 94, the Hasbro line had, if it hadn't ended, it was coming to an end. So Goldust just missed the cutoff, because he would have been a great Hasbro to have. I mean, the character of Goldust would have been a great figure to have at that age. And yeah, I mean, he would have been an awesome Hasbro. And because even though that's when the Hasbro figures came out over that time period, you still played with them years after. So Goldust was a prominent figure in the WWF when you were doing your sort of fantasy booking and your Fig Fed, and you didn't have a Goldust. So it would have been great if we had a Goldust Hasbro, but for those reasons we never got one. So yeah, Goldust was one of the ones that was disappearing from the entertainer really quickly. So I only saw two, and because I saw two and only two, I bought them both. So I picked up both Goldust. The plan is I'm going to open one just now, and I'm going to keep one on card. I'm just trying to work out which one has the better card. Keep on card. I think they're kind of much the same. One's got a small crease at the bottom, one's got a small crease at the top. But I think this one's slightly flatter. That's the thing with these retro cards, they get curved really easily. I think this one's slightly flatter, so I'm going to keep that one. So I'll open up this guy, and here's Dustin. Here we go. This is cool, man. Comes with his wig, which was a big part of his character. I remember when he debuted. I think it was Jannetty that he debuted against, actually. And his wig just kind of disappeared. He didn't, because Jannetty jumped on before the lights came on and stuff, and he came down the aisle with his wig on, and it just disappeared. And I was like, what just happened there? But yeah, this is a cool figure. So I think his move is like the old school Hasbro clothesline, is it? Which is really, really stiff if it is. It is. It's meant to be same as AJ's got over here. It's really stiff. What I noticed there is that the retros, unlike the Hasbros, they've got kind of extra points of articulation. So Goldust's knees swivel as well. And I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think the Hasbros, you were able to move the clothesliners. You definitely weren't able to move the clothesliners' hands back and forward like that. Yeah. But again, like Samoa Joe, there's a little bit more give to these guys. Particularly the kind of legs and arms and stuff, just feels that little bit softer, I suppose. I don't know what the right word is for it. I mean, still feel like durable figures. They're still good figures, but just that little bit softer. But that's a really good face scan as well. I think it looks like Dustin, but that image, that sort of expression on his face is one that I can remember Goldust doing as well. So that's really cool, actually. Really happy to have Goldust. And yeah, he'll go in straight into the Hasbro collection as the kind of one of the missing links, if you like. And got this guy on card. I'm going to keep him good. I mean, he's got a small crease down this bottom corner here, but I'm going to keep that good, I think. Keep it mint on card. So yeah, so Goldust, he's one of the guys that he felt like you needed a Hasbro for, but there's one wrestler in the WWF from that Hasbro era that if there's one guy you could pick to have a Hasbro for that you never got one for, it would be this guy. So particularly because this guy should have had a Hasbro. He should have. So I don't know if people know that. Probably do. I mean, if you're watching this video, you probably know enough about Hasbros to know. But there was a series of Hasbros, the Orange Card series, the series that was due to come out, series 12, I think it was, the series that was due to come out after the green cards. There was production images for them. There was actually head molds created for them. And if you watch the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, it's actually Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder from the WWE. He has the head sculpts from the Orange Card series, or most of the head sculpts from the Orange Card series. Because by that time, in the Hasbro line, Series 12, they weren't making molds for all the new molds for the figures. All they were doing was making new heads and reusing body parts. So if you look, I mean, even like the green cards, Bart Gunn is Razor Ramon with a different head. Billy Gunn is Jake the Snake with a different head. Yokozuna's a repaint. Crush is a repaint. 123 Kid is that Ric Flair body that we talked about earlier with a different head. Actually works better for the 123 Kid, I suppose. But yeah, so one of the guys that was due to be in the Orange Card series, there were going to be a few figures in that series. There was a repaint of Doink was going to be in that series. There was going to be a repaint of Lex Luger in his USA colours. There was going to be a Jeff Jarrett, which would have been his first time in the line. There was going to be a Bastion Booger, which would have been his first time in the line. There was going to be both members of Men on a Mission, Mabel and Mo. And then, in my opinion, the headline act of that series, the main man from that series, would have been Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Okay, so Diesel was one of the guys that the Entertainer were stalking and selling again there, but he went so quickly. Everyone just snapped him up. So I was so lucky to find one. And only one. This is the only one I saw when I was out and about. And I went to several Entertainers. And this is the only one I saw. So delighted to have him. I actually went through my head, should I unbox him? But the card's not the best. I mean, what am I gonna do? I'm not going to leave it. You know, I saw him on the shelf. The card's all kind of warped and curved. There's a few creases in it, so it's not great. But as you know, if you watch this channel regularly, I like to have them in the box. I like to have them on the shelf. And because it's Diesel, because it's the one guy, really, if you could pick one guy that you should have had in your Hasbro Fig Fed that you didn't have, it would be him. It would be Diesel. So delighted to finally have him as a retro, and he'll go into my loose figure collection, take pride of place on the shelf. And here he is. Here's Diesel. Yeah, so Diesel has, that's what I thought Samoa Joe's move was going to be, like that kind of arm smashing one. Actually, do you know, he feels, I said about Samoa Joe and Goldust that they feel kind of softer, but Diesel feels a lot more rigid. His head doesn't. His head does feel that kind of softer sculpt. But this is a cool figure. How good would it have been to have him as a Hasbro? Because you had the Shawn Michaels figures. We had two different Shawn Michaels. You know, if you'd had Diesel, oh, that would have just been fantastic. It would have just completed the look. You know, when Shawn Michaels is in the ring, Diesel's on the apron or on the outside, watching his back. That would have been cool, man. So delighted to finally have a Diesel. And the only thing about Diesel is, and I've kind of touched on this with some of the Hasbros that I've unboxed, Diesel's huge. Like, Diesel is Kevin Nash. What is he like? He's like 7 foot something, you know. And then there he's next to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, all right, he's a bit taller, but Seth Rollins is not even 6 foot tall, I think. And you know, Diesel's over 7 foot. This guy should be huge. He should be like towering over the rest of the figures. That's the only problem, or one of the few problems that I have with like the Hasbro line and these retro guys, is that Andre the Giant, I feel, should just be so much bigger than he is. Giant Gonzalez should be so much bigger than he is. And Diesel, I think, comes into that category. He should be really, really tall. But not complaining. No complaints at all. Love this figure. Love that I've got him. I've seen a few attempts at customizing Diesel over the year, which you can understand because he's one that everyone wanted. And the thing that lets me down for customs, because some people, most customs you see for sale online are horrendous, but you do see some decent attempts at least. But the thing that always kind of lets me down is the kind of detailing. So if someone's going to put like Diesel across, which that's what he looked like. I mean, to have a plain black vest, it wouldn't be Diesel. You have to have that across his vest. But some people, when they customize them, do it by hand, and it just never looks right. It always looks, for lack of a better word, cheap. And that for me would put me off if we're buying a custom. But because this is obviously like printed, it's transferred, that's awesome, man. So yeah, note to any customizers, if you are making any custom figures at all, don't put the hand painted details on. Get transfers or something, because it just looks so much better when it's stenciled like that, printed like that. That's awesome. But yeah, so Diesel, unbelievable that I got. Did not expect to get, I mean, as I say, these two, Goldust and Diesel, these are two that they fall into those reasons why I would want a retro, because I feel like they belong with my Hasbro guys. They're from that era. There's some legendary matchups. Obviously, Diesel and Shawn go together. Diesel and Brett, Diesel and the British Bulldog. You know, there's lots of matches you can fantasy book in your Fig Fed with Diesel and also with Goldust. So delighted to have these guys to join the Hasbro collection. And Samoa Joe, as I said, I could take him or leave him, but I'm glad I've got him now. He does actually look pretty cool. I'll keep him. I won't chuck him in the toy room for my wee man to bounce off the walls with AJ and Goldberg and stuff like that. I'll keep him. I think I'll keep him in my collection just because he does look pretty decent actually now I see him out the box. So yeah, that was madness. I didn't expect that to happen. Didn't expect anything like this to happen ever again, you know, and just the experience of it, I thought it was awesome, because it was like a race against time. It was like, these things are discontinued. You can barely get them online. I mean, away from eBay, you know, people are always selling stuff on eBay, but they usually want ridiculous prices for it. But if you go to something like the wrestling figure websites, like Ringside Collectables, WrestlingFigures.com, you can't get these guys anymore. They are hard to get. You might get one or two here or there. So just knowing that they were out there in the wild and having to go and hunt them down, I thought that was awesome. It was such a fun day going from entertainer to entertainer looking for these figures. And when I found them, when I found the ones I was looking for, because as I say, there were some in the shops had none. There were a few that just had Randy Orton's, and I wasn't really after a Randy Orton. But I remember there was one Goldust in one shop. I got Goldust and Samoa Joe at the same shop. I was so happy to have Goldust, but then the next one I went to had the other Goldust and the Diesel, and it was just like such a good feeling. And it's something I miss. I miss going out looking for a figure that you want. I'm not really one of these guys that likes to buy modern toys and modern action figures from any line. From Ninja Turtles, from wrestling figures. I'm not really into the modern stuff. Even the really cool stuff like NECA. I can appreciate it, but I wouldn't go out my way to get it because it's modern. It's just been made. I'm really into the vintage stuff. It's the vintage stuff that I like, and because of that, you really can only shop for that online. There's one or two places. If you watch the channel, see I was out at a couple of comic book shops and stuff looking for vintage figures, but it's not that easy to find them out in the wild like that. So to have the knowledge that these figures were out there and you just had to go and find them, that was cool, man. I really enjoyed that. It was a good day, and great to get these figures because they're not impossible to get. You can get them online, and if you're interested, there are a million people who got them from the entertainer now selling them online for silly prices. But just being able to get them for the cost price, the retail value in the shop, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that, and I would love it if something like that was to happen more regularly. I mean, how good would it be if, I don't know, Smiths or something all of a sudden had a wave of WWF Hasbros that they just wanted to shift for £6 or £7 each? That would be crazy, but it's not going to happen. This is probably the closest thing that we're ever going to get to it, but that said, I'll take it. It was a great day, great experience, and I think it's finished now. I think the entertainer are completely sold out of these figures now. I don't see the website's sold out completely, and I have checked one or two shops since, and nothing to be seen. So I think the fun might be over for now, but it was good while it lasted. It was great while it lasted, actually, and I'm really happy with the results. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'm currently editing a couple other videos. This came up whilst I was editing a couple other videos, so I had to put everything on hold to get out there and chase these retros down. So there'll be a few more videos coming up this week. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment, let me know how you got on hunting your retros down in the entertainer store. Like the video, share the video. Stay safe, we'll speak soon.